Welcome to Choice Theory in NSC Defensive Driving Course, 10th edition. First, let's discuss the background that has led us to include choice theory in our curriculum. Without making this a history lesson or history course, I will just summarize this fact very simply by saying that NSC has delivered defensive driving for decades successfully, and we've become known for the defensive driving course. However, it was recognized that we had an opportunity. We had an opportunity to improve the course by addressing one of the weaknesses, which was truly getting to the driver's behavior. We have chosen choice theory as the methodology to get to the behavior change that is needed behind the wheel. Choice theory is an important element that factors into the design of the NSC Defensive Driving Course, 10th edition. Prior to delivering the NSC Defensive Driving Course, it is recommended that you read the book by Dr. William Glasser, Choice Theory, A New Psychology of Personal Freedom. A copy of the book has been provided to you as part of this curriculum. Many of the concepts covered in the book are applied throughout this course. In this session, we'll review some key aspects of choice theory and look at how these concepts are applied in the NSC Defensive Driving Course 10th edition to help participants change ineffective behaviors. Now, let me provide some background on the author of these theories and techniques, Dr. Glasser. Dr. William Glasser is an internationally recognized psychiatrist who is best known as the creator of choice theory, a method of psychotherapy that is now taught all over the world. After earning a medical degree from Case Western, Dr. Glasser received his psychiatric training at the Veterans Administration Center and UCLA before going into private practice. During his private practice, his career expanded to lecturing and writing. He published over 20 books in his career, including his second book, Reality Therapy. After Reality Therapy became a bestseller, Dr. Glasser founded the Institute of Reality Therapy, which over time evolved into the William Glasser Institute. The success of reality therapy as a counseling practice led to his book, Choice Theory, which provides the groundwork for many of the theories we apply to help drivers choose to change their ineffective behaviors behind the wheel. Now let's discuss the major tenets of choice theory. We'll begin by discussing the 5 basic needs that we all have, and we all share each of these needs. I shouldn't say we share them, but we all have them. So the 5 basic needs, a fundamental axiom of choice theory, is that we are all driven by 5 genetic needs. You may be familiar with Maslow's model, but Dr. Glasser's, while similar, differs in that each individual determines the quality of their needs rather than predetermined amount as suggested by Maslow. Choice theory is based on the theory that all behavior is an attempt to fulfill one or more of these basic needs. The 5 basic needs are survival, love and belonging, fun, freedom, and power. So what does this have to do with defensive driving, you may be asking? Even when driving, we are satisfying some of our basic needs through the behaviors that we choose behind the wheel. And let's give a simple example of survival. Survival is probably the one need that most people can relate to the easiest. We all need to eat to survive, for example, and if we choose not to eat, well, eventually we'll die. Most of us don't make that choice, but we do often delay fulfilling that need. For example, diets. Diets come and go, and people try different ways of eating different foods and different ways and different diets. Oh, there's so many diets in today's world. Another example might be we go to lunch late, or we're too busy to stop working or doing whatever activity we're choosing to do to stop and eat. We can delay eating for few minutes or a few hours without any much effect. But eventually, our body will begin to tell us that, hey, buddy, I need food. Your stomach will growl, you may feel faint or lightheaded. These are all signs that, hey, we're hungry. This is an example of a survival need. We've got to eat. And love and belonging, or acceptance. This is another way to look at this. Remember, there's two parts of this, love and belonging, or acceptance. So when we talk about love and belonging as a fundamental need, we all have it again. We do have this as well. Love and belonging is our need to be a part of a relationship or relationships. There are many ways to fulfill this need. Love and belonging needs may be met by a variety of people. For example, our family, our partners, the organizations we belong to, and for many people, the need for loving belonging is fulfilled through their relationships with their pets. Oh, fun. Fun or enjoyment. Fun may seem like an easy need to satisfy. It is fulfilled by doing things that make us happy or give us pleasure. Everyone's picture of what is fun is unique to that person. So the need for fun is fulfilled in various ways by each individual. My example of fun might be I like to play golf or I like to be outdoors. Those things are fun for me. They give me great enjoyment. Think about what might be fun for you. The next is freedom. Freedom, independence, also known as independence, but freedom is the need. Another of our basic needs. Most citizens in the United States think of freedom as an inherent right as defined by our Bill of Rights. That document and others outline the basic freedoms Americans enjoy. There's also personal freedom, the ability to make our own decisions or to do what we want to do and when we want to do it. Dr. Glasser uses the words personal freedom in the title of this book that we have read or will be reading, right? So, A New Psychology of Personal Freedom. Personal freedom, according to Dr. Glasser, is obtained when we quit trying to control others or make them do something or behave a way in which we want them to behave, our way. Power, the power need, or recognition, need for recognition or the need for power. Power, according to Glasser, is a distinctive human need. Other animals use power to survive, but human animals want power, just to have power. We sometimes think of people with power as greedy, self-absorbed, autocrats. But remember, we all have a need for power at some level. For some, it's stronger than for others. When we think about how some of those leaders of military-run governments treat their citizens, we may be shocked. These dictators have such a tremendous need for power that they're willing to do anything, despite frequently negative consequences, to keep power. However, power is not always destructive. There are many people who use power to make society better. For example, judges. Judges use their power to uphold the laws and the Constitution. For some of us, competition, such as outperforming others or at work or competing in sports, helps us fulfill our need for power. For others, the need for power might be fulfilled by asserting their rights or points of view. Competitiveness and assertiveness are two types of power that we often see people exhibit when driving. So let's talk a little bit about needs versus wants. And I'll tell a little bit of a story real quickly, and I'm sure that many of you have had similar experiences, but I have a teenage daughter now, but when she was younger, we'd go to the store and she'd say, "Daddy, I need this toy. I need this." And we'd just stop and say, "Do you need it or do you want it?" And that's still carries over today, and that's not a lesson that I came up with. That's a lesson that generations before have taught me, and then they learned it from generations before them. So needs and wants. It is important to distinguish between needs and wants. Our 5 basic needs are genetic. They're general and universal in that all of us have those same basic needs at some level, common, and they're consistent. However, wants, on the other hand, are not genetic. They're very specific and particular to ourselves. Other people do not generally have the same wants as we do, and our wants are constantly changing. We visualize our wants in our minds. Think of them as pictures of how we see that want or that perceived need, the wants. When we look to change our behavior, we often need to recognize why we are choosing our current behaviors and then change our picture of what we want. And fulfilling our basic needs. We're the only ones who can decide when our needs are satisfied. No one else can tell us they are met. No one else can tell us they're met or fulfill those needs for us. Suppose you are out to dinner with someone and they say, "Stop eating, you're full now." Well, that seems silly. First, you might wonder what makes them think that. Second, you might question how they would know whether you're full. If we attempt to fulfill someone else's needs, we set ourselves up for failure. Let's look in more detail a choice theory model to see how our 5 basic needs drive our behavioral choices. This diagram that you see on the screen now seems very complicated, and in a way it is, but we're going to go through it step by step. Each of us has different ways to fulfill our needs for love and belonging, fun, freedom, and power. These are based on each person's own perceptions of the world and how that person defines his or her quality world. Shown here, the choice theory model. The model may look complex, but it provides an overarching view of choice theory. It also shows how our perceptions and our quality worlds drive our behavior choices. We'll look at each element in the model and explain how they work, starting with the real world. The real world, marked with a star in this slide here, is just that. It's the real world. It's what's going on in our world, the Earth, the atmosphere, the galaxy, what's going on in our world. And the real world is what it is. It is what it is, whether we like it or not. How we interact with that real world is our perceived world, and we'll get to that in a second. Though we interface every day with the real world, we're not totally immersed in it. We can, in fact, decide just how much or how many or few experiences we have in the real world. For example, some people choose to live most of their lives in one city or one state and have never traveled outside of those areas, while others travel multiple states, multiple locations every day. Another example might be that some people choose to live most of their lives indoors without leaving the house. They choose to have very few experiences or interactions in the real world. Similarly, there are people who refuse to drive on the interstates. Or you can program your GPS now, and have for a long time, to avoid toll roads. Or maybe you've grown up in an area of rural areas and you just refuse to drive or interact in the city, or vice versa. If you've grown up in the city environment, maybe you refuse to travel on rural roads. According to Glasser, the real world is energy. We turn that energy into information. Now, the perceived world. This is where we live. This is what we see, what we know. The perceived world is limited by our senses, our eyes, our ears, your touch, smell, taste, intuition. This means all interpretations and interactions, they're ours. They're our experiences. Though they seem real to us, and they are real, but they're real to you, they may not be the same for everyone else. I think we've all seen some of those experimental videos and so forth, and there's one that I've seen on YouTube recently of passing of the basketball, and if you've not seen that, I highly recommend you go and look for it on YouTube. But there's a scene where there's a team of folks wearing black and a team wearing white, and you're supposed to count how many times the ball passes between the teams, and suddenly, if you're not aware, if you're just counting the ball, you may miss the fact that there is I'll just, without giving it away, there is something else going on in the background. And so if you're not aware of that, that's perception. That's our perception, and our limitation, shows our limitations to our senses. It's important to note that a communication gap can appear between the real world and the perceived world, and that's what we're talking about here with that video. I highly recommend that you go try to find that. This is largely determined by our senses, as well as our unique filters, specifically our knowledge filter and our values filter. If I would have told you what that outside thing was, or if you end up going looking for it, you've increased your knowledge, therefore you've opened up that filter to the world to allow information in. The knowledge filter draws upon what we know about the world. However, what I know may not be correct, depending on how I received and understood the information. Now, the values filter is very unique to each of us as well. How we're raised, where we're raised, of our raising, our rearing, and those things in which we believe. The values filter reflects what I view as important, or what you view as important. My values, or your values, may or may not coincide with those of a religious or political group I participate with, or those of my family or of my friends. Though I may outwardly profess a value, I may not live it. For example, some people may profess, "Thou shalt not kill," but if you break into their house at night, they may shoot you dead. Their need for survival at that very moment is much higher than their need for love and belonging in this particular situation. So that's just an example of how some of these interactions occur. Our needs and our perceptions, our perceived world, the knowledge filter and the values filter. Once we have those perceptions, the perceptions go to the comparing place for analysis and are then passed on to the quality world. The comparing place is like a simple balancing scale, in which one pan holds known value, the other pan holds the item being weighed or compared. For example, if an intruder comes in, how are you weighing that in your comparing place? Well, that's very simple in my world, but it may not be very simple in someone else's world, so keep that in mind. The perception is put on the scale with a question, this is what I'm getting, is it what I wanted? The weight used in the comparison is a picture from the individual's personal photo album, internally in your brain, in your head, what you vision or what you see as this picture, and it's drawn from the person's individual wants in their world. Now our quality world. This is specifically covered in the program, and so now you kind of understand where it sits in this whole choice theory, the whole theory, and the quality world is here. And we talk about using the quality world in the program, and believe you've already been introduced to that in the program. But the quality world is one of the axioms of choice theory. And it says this: we can satisfy our 5 needs only by satisfying a picture or pictures in our quality world. Our quality world contains personal pictures of our needs and wants and consists of people, things, ideas, and beliefs. Our quality worlds are as diverse as the world population. We may have similar pictures or perceptions, but not all the pictures in our album are the same. Only you can define what is fun for you, for example, or what makes you feel powerful. What we all have as our quality worlds are things we put there. We are the only ones who put these pictures in our quality world, and we are the only ones who can remove them. Keep in mind that is your quality world. The pictures here may or may not be good for you. They may not even be worthwhile. The picture of your quality world tells the comparing place whether or not you are getting what you want. If you're getting what you want, then there is no need to replace the picture and select a different behavior. You're getting what you want. However, if you're not getting what you want, you can replace the picture with another need-fulfilling picture, or select a different behavior that better achieves your wants or needs. Wants and needs are important aspects of your quality world. You cannot change your basic needs, we know that, but you can change what you want, or the pictures in your quality world. Now let's talk about the behavior system. What in the world is the behavior system? Looks like a bunch of gears, and well, this is interesting. And gears is one way to depict this. Another way might be a card catalog or some sort of catalog of experiences or behaviors. Based on your quality world, including your wants and 5 needs, you determine whether you are satisfied with what just happened in your life. Whether satisfied or dissatisfied, you then move here to the behavioral world. The behavioral system, The behavioral system is a storage file of actions you've taken in the past. Actions that have been successful and maybe actions that haven't been successful. Your experience is certainly a big part of this. Every past behavior you created is stored here. The behavior may be good, not good. You just know you've used it before. If you're satisfied with what you're getting, it is stored in your card file of behaviors that have worked for you. The common question would be, how did I handle this situation last time I faced it? Now, we don't typically consciously think about these things. How did I handle this before? Oftentimes it's a subconscious behavior. If you do not find a behavior you believe that will work in that card catalog, then this is also where you create a new behavior and then file it away. All behavior begins with wanting something to meet one or more needs and perceiving that we don't have what we want currently. This difference between what we want and what we are getting creates frustration, which oftentimes irritates our behavioral system. The higher the level of frustration, the more dangerous a behavior becomes. Does that remind you of any driving behaviors that you may have experienced? Well, that's here in the behavioral system. Oh, the behavioral car. This seems complex, and it also seems very appropriate for the program. But Dr. Glasser says that once we create a new behavior, we have to test it out. We behave in the real world to get what we want, and then the same cycle will be carried out for every behavior we make in the real world. This is illustrated in the image of the behavioral car. An excellent illustration of this, to imagine the 4 components of behavior: doing, feeling, thinking, and physiology as the 4 wheels of the car. And it's important to note, this isn't just any car. It needs to be a front-wheel drive car. Okay, so now we have that picture. It's a front-wheel drive car. Now think about the engine in the car. Those are your needs. The engine drives the wheels, just as our needs drive our behaviors. Without the engine, all four wheels, the car wouldn't go anywhere. It wouldn't be driven, couldn't be driven. The doing, acting, thinking behaviors are the front wheels because these are the behaviors that influence the direction of our behavioral car. So the doing and thinking are up front wheels. So we drive our behavioral car in the real world to get what we want. These wants are the people, the things, and beliefs in our quality world. Dr. Glasser states that we behave as a whole. We don't behave in parts. No one behavior component does or causes another. He believes in what's called total behavior. We can't do something without thinking. We can't do something without feeling or getting physically involved. And just because we think about something doesn't mean we carry out that thought or get our feelings or physiology involved. When we are behaving, we're making choices. Thus, we always have control over what we do. All of our behavioral choices have consequences. Each choice we make can be visualized as choosing a particular road to drive or our behavioral car into, as each road has different consequences. An important concept to understand when choosing choice or using choice theory is that every choice or doing behavior has consequences. Each behavior we choose results in a positive or negative consequence. For example, let's look at the consequences of the choice to drive through a red light. Positive consequences may be that we don't have to stop and we get to our location faster. A negative consequence may be that we crash, receive a ticket, or die. It is important to recognize that all total behavior is chosen. We always have control over our behavior. All choices have consequences. And this is the one thing that is really important to realize and remember when we're teaching this program. All choices have consequences. Consequences often are thought of in our experiences in our world as being negative, and that's not always true. Every choice, every behavior that we have has a consequence. We hope to have more positive consequences than negative ones. Let's talk about changing behavior. How do we change someone's behavior? And that's really the reason that we decided to choose choice theory and bring it in to the defensive driving course of 10th edition. A choice theory axiom that is important to DDC instructors to accept is all we can give to or get from other people is information. We can only provide the participants with information. We cannot make them choose different behaviors. We cannot change their behaviors. The choice is theirs and theirs alone. Now that we reviewed the key concepts of choice theory and explained how we choose our behaviors based on the wants and needs in our quality worlds, let's discuss how we can apply these concepts when working with others to identify their behavior choices and define new behaviors, as we do when delivering NSC defensive driving. Here we'll talk about the psychology of choice theory. Choice theory helps people make better choices to meet their needs in a reasonable way. People choose behaviors to meet specific needs. Often, participants are in our classes because they are making a behind-the-wheel choice that meets their immediate needs but result in an undesirable consequence. To help people make better need-fulfilling choices, choice theory provides us with these principles to guide us. You are responsible for what you do, no one else. People can change and live more effective lives. All choices are one of the following. They're either effective, they're short-term, or ineffective. Effective choices are those that are responsible and respectful. In order to change an unwanted behavior, we must first identify needs, wants, and most importantly, alternative behaviors when necessary. This can be accomplished by answering 5 questions. The first question, what do you want? This helps focus on the real issues. What we specifically want to fulfill one of our basic needs. To solve the problem, we need to state the issue. Consider this question. By attending the NSC Defensive Driving course, what do you think participants may want? Maybe they want to keep their driver's license or get out of the class in many cases. They may want their driver's license because they need to satisfy another basic need. At this point, keeping their driving privilege is what they want. And completing this course is one thing they can do to get what they want. The next question is, what are you doing? Is what you are doing helping get what you want? This focuses on exactly what we're doing right now in order to decide whether the behavior is need-fulfilling or helping us get what we want. This is the first step in helping participants recognize that their own choices drive their behaviors and determine whether they will be able to satisfy the wants and needs in their quality world. So what would you have to do differently to get what you want? This is the point where we're allowing the student to choose an alternate behavior. This is the third question. This question focuses on identifying alternative behaviors for our participants. There might be to obey traffic laws, or take public transportation, or have someone else drive. One of the more common responses that I have heard from people, and I'm sure that you will or have heard this as well, is, so why do you speed? I speed because I'm late. So you're late. What could you do differently to get what you want? And one of the most common answers is, I could set an alarm clock. I could set an alarm clock across the room, or I could leave earlier, or I could stop doing something else to get to make it on time so I don't have to speed to get there. That is, all these behaviors that we choose and we should guide our students to is they should be legal behaviors. And we may need to remind them that we prefer respectful but also responsible behavior, and those behaviors need to be legal behaviors. The next question focuses on the participant's commitment and desire to change. What are you willing to do to get what you want? Put the alarm clock across the room. Are you really willing to do that? In some cases, participants are perfectly happy to do nothing and are not willing to change, and that's okay. It's their choice to change. If it's working for them, then there's no reason to change for them to change. They will not change. It is in those cases we would ask them, when would the consequences get so painful that you would be willing to change? Do you have to lose your job before you'll change? Do you have to kill someone before you'll change? Do you have to die, or will you die before you change? Sometimes you will have students that we get to that point. An exercise to help participants evaluate their behaviors related to a specific incident, such as getting a speeding ticket, as we've been using, we can use the Lazy 8 technique. This technique involves asking 4 probing questions to reveal the person's motives and willingness to change. The first question we ask is, what were you doing at the time of your last ticket or this incident? The second question, did your actions get what you wanted? The third one, do you feel you really wanted or needed at that time? What do you feel you really wanted or needed at that time? And then, are you willing to change your current behavior to get what you really want. Many times when the person being counseled is asked what they're doing, they will not actually admit to their chosen behavior. You can try to enter the discussion at any point in the 8, but you must make the full loop of 4 questions and have the person you are dealing with admit that they are willing to change. If there is no desire or commitment to change, they will not change. That leads to the question, what will it take for you to change? For example, in NSC defensive driving, participants might respond when my insurance gets too high, or when I no longer have a driver's license, when I injure someone else, this is often a time, or frankly, we've seen it many times. There are a handful of people out there, a small fraction, that say, you know what, when I die, the day I die is the day I'll stop, or the day I'll change. In order for a person to change his or her behavior, that person needs to decide that what they're doing is not working. This can be difficult. So it is important that we create a trusting and positive environment in which a person can reflect on his or her behaviors and identify new behaviors that can help them fulfill their basic needs. Establishing a positive classroom environment is essential to the success of the NSC Defensive Driving course. Choice theory counseling techniques can help us create a positive environment that encourages participants to think about their behavior choices and create change. Now, after working through key lessons and helping participants recognize the need, the final step in facilitating change among participants is to help them develop a plan. So some of you may be familiar with management styles and SMART goal setting. Well, there's also a planning system that we use as well, and that's the SAMRIC plan. The most successful plans are those over which we have control. We have all made plans to go out with a friend, only to have that friend cancel at the last minute. When this happens, we may choose to feel angry, or we may feel depressed, or we may be irritated. If this happens a lot with that specific friend, we will probably stop making plans with them. I know I have. To be successful, a plan to change behavior will incorporate 6 characteristics. It will be simple. The plan must be easy to understand and execute. It will be attainable. The plan must be something you can realistically do. It must be measurable. You must be able to see results or change if the plan is executed successfully. It must be repeatable. The more you're able to practice and repeat the plan, the more likely you are to succeed. And it must be immediate. The plan must be something you can do the minute you finalize the plan. Plans that are not immediate are often not implemented. Don't wait until another day, or I'll do it tomorrow. It needs to be done now. Controlled by you. The plan must be controlled by you. We all know we can't control others. Only we can control our actions. If the plan depends on someone else, it will fail, and the planner can place responsibility for that failure on someone else. Let's look at how choice theory is applied to the NSC Defensive Driving Course 10th edition. We'll discuss ways we, as instructors, can use choice theory concepts and psychology to help participants identify their behavior choices and make safer choices on the road. As we discussed, choice theory states that all total behavior is chosen. We always have control over our behavior, and all choices have consequences. When delivering the NSC Defensive Driving Course 10th edition, we can help participants recognize that they choose their driving behaviors and that their choices have consequences. We can highlight the potential consequences of unsafe choices, but we cannot control whether participants change their driving behaviors. Some key points to always remember when teaching this course: our expectations of others do not cause them to perform well or poorly, and we cannot force them to do anything. It's important to recognize that people are responsible for their choices. If they choose not to be helped, and if we have made every effort to extend ourselves to them, then you know what? That's just the way it is. Unfortunately, not everything is in our control. Energy extended to change another person or to cause him or her to behave differently rarely works and most often leads to frustration for that other person trying to force change upon them. This is what's referred to as external control. And Glasser refers to external control. And really that's kind of that's us trying to control other people. It is completely the choice of the person to choose or not choose to change their behavior. All you can do is offer them a different perspective of the behavior. As such, we may want to insist the participants see the negative consequences of their behavior. We need to accept that the only person we can control is ourselves. We can influence the behavior of others, but we cannot change them. So remember that. And remember to create an environment that allows them to choose to accept new behavior. Applying choice theory concepts in psychology when facilitating activities and discussions can help participants recognize their own behavior choices and identify alternative behavior choices. To practice choice theory in the classroom, the instructor must create a trusting relationship with their participants. From this relationship, you are usually able to help participants evaluate both what they want and total behavior that they are presently choosing. You can then assist them in creating a plan to either change what they want or something more achievable, and or choose a behavior that will better satisfy what they currently want. When working with participants, use the lazy 8 technique. Try and get the person to recognize their current behaviors, identify what needs they're trying to fulfill at the time of that behavior, and determine whether they got what they wanted. And then ask, what will it take for you to change? This technique is very effective. It places responsibility squarely on their participant and can help a person navigate their own ideas and beliefs in their quality world. In the classroom, if you have a larger class, say 10 to 12 or larger, at least 10 to 12, breaking them up into the groups as recommended, this allows the messaging, the guidance to come from the students. How powerful is that they're being driven by other people like them to this place through the lazy 8. Very effective technique. When dealing with difficult participants, however, be cautious. Simply asking questions about the person's true wants and needs can bring out important teaching points. Even if the particular person doesn't change, other participants in the class can learn from that interaction. So if you do break them up into groups, you should be monitoring. If there is an opportunity, seek that student out and ask to share their experience, and maybe others will relate to them as well. Though it's not explicitly stated in the course, all of the discussions and activities in the NSC Defensive Driving Course 10th edition include elements of choice theory. Some specific examples where these concepts are found are the very beginning, the My World activity, in which participants identify key aspects of their own quality worlds, people who are important to them, activities that are fun for them. Does that sound familiar? The My Current Driving Behaviors activity, in which participants identify their current behavior choices. The What Can Happen video and discussions identify potential consequences of ineffective behavior choices. 6 Deadly Choices discussions throughout the course, during which participants identify risky behavior choices. The what's in our control discussion, participants recognize that we can only control our own behavior. Discussions of effective behavior choices include all defensive driving techniques. And then the My Plan activity at the end of the course, in which participants create a simple plan for changing their driving behaviors after the course using the SAMRIC plan. As you deliver the course, remember that every discussion you have with participants throughout the course is an opportunity to help them identify their current risky behavior, identify alternative behaviors, and make a plan for change. We can only provide our participants with information, but the information we provide in the course truly can save lives and help make our roads safer for everyone. Thank you for attending this session on choice theory in the NSC Defensive Driving Course, 10th edition.